was going on. And so he sat there and he's like, well, you know, they're changing up some of her medication, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 just leave her alone. You know, and they're like, no, really, she's really pale. And so I got to a point where I couldn't really eat. It hurt to drink, you know, swallowing hurt. And so I went into the doctor and they said, well, let's, you know, run some blood work. Let's find out what's going on. And this is my civilian doctor who actually referred me over to the oncologist that I'm still going through at the time. And so they did all this blood work. And then he comes back to me and I get a phone call and he says, have you ever undergone radiation before? And I said, well, yeah, you know, a lot of the time through VA. And he goes, well, how many times, you know, what was your dosage? What was this? What was that? Blah, da, 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 da. I said, well, I don't know all that. And he said, okay. He said, well, I need you to sign a FOIA act so that we can get those records. And I said, okay, fine. So I signed the release and the FOIA. And they came back and they said, okay, you can never again have radiation treatments ever in this area of your body ever again. And I said, why? I said, why do I feel so bad? And he said, well, essentially, if we don't stop right, they said, but we're killing your liver, you're way below where you're supposed to be. So then they changed up my medication again, and they started putting me on this medication that was supposed to build up my liver. And then they tell me, you know, you can't drink while you're taking this medication. Well, you know, there are still times where, you know, I'll have a drink, and I had my friend's wedding that weekend and everything else, and so I thought it was just like, you know, my regular pain medication. Oh, you're not supposed to drink while on this. Okay, well, you know, there have been times I've taken it with alcohol just to make it work. And that night they were doing a team thing up at Buffalo Wild Wings over in Arlington. I had like 2 shots and 1 drink, and I'm literally crawling out of the place. I don't remember. I don't ever want to know about. You were crying about all kinds of stuff. I'm like, are you serious? He said, yeah. And I had no memory of any of this. So that next morning, you know, Daryl drops me off in my truck. I had the day off from work for my friend's wedding. So I called up my oncologist and I'm like, hey, just out of curiosity, you know, if somebody was to, I don't know, put a funnel in my mouth and pour alcohol down my throat, what would happen? And he basically described everything that Daryl said I did that night. You know, just, I would be an emotional roller coaster. It would take me like 2 drinks to become past the point of inebriation. Basically he described that night. I don't remember anything of that night. And so yeah, he's like, you cannot drink on this medication. And I said, okay. And he said, stop taking it for the weekend. Because I told him, I was like, I have my friend's wedding. He said, stop taking it for the weekend. Start taking it again on Monday. He said, you got to take it for a week and then come back in and we got to rerun your blood. He said, because we need to make sure that we have not killed your liver functions because of the radiation treatments. And I said, okay, fine. And so, you know, I took it and then I went back in and they ran more blood work and he said, okay, so we've almost got you back up to normal. But I can't take Tylenol anymore. I can't take acetaminophen. I can't take ibuprofen. I can't do any of that because even though they've gotten my levels back up, my liver is now predisposed. So, yeah.
What can you take?
I can take Aleve. Okay. I can take naproxen. I can take aspirin. I can... Good job, Jackson. The aspirin that they give you for heart.
You can take 1 Aleve?
I can take 1 Aleve. So that does nothing for my arthritis. but at the same time, the doctor's preferred choice of pain medication through the VA for me right now is morphine. Yeah. No, I'm dead serious. They love to prescribe me morphine. And I don't get it like 20 pills. I get like a family-sized bottle. I went into my oncologist, you know, and I told him, I was like, hey, I went in and told him I was hurting again. This was, you know, about 7 months ago, I think. And I told him, I said, you know, I'm having a problem with pain again. You know, it's getting to a point where I'm really, really, really hurting. And I can't take all this stuff, but I can take 1 or 2 of this other stuff that isn't working. You know, what can I do? And I told him, I said, I went in and they gave me another bottle of morphine. I said, can I maybe have a non-narcotic?
Do we have a non-narcotic?
Yeah. And he just kind of laughed and he goes, I think you're the first cancer patient I've ever had that's asked me for a non-narcotic.
Yeah.
And so
You get hooked on something.
I don't. I mean, you know, so I would much rather hurt than run that risk. Yeah, because my daughter deserves better.
Yes, right. There you go, right there.
So,
Don't play that.
he's so funny.
Olivia was just staring at him waiting in anticipation. Where's my Stephanie?
Yeah, my doctors have a very hard time believing that, you know, I don't. The cone surgeries that they can on me, because the last one that VA did, they kind of botched it. And so VA's answer to me right now is, well, you need to have another child. And so the last doctor I had say that to me,
Why
I said,
why? Because they don't want to do his hysterectomy until you've had 2 kids?
2.5. Let's get specific here. It's 2.5.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And the thing that
If they
sucks,
get his hysterectomy on you, would you be okay?
yeah, I'd be fine. Right now, what the civilian doctors are trying to do is keep it from my ovaries, because once it hits my ovaries, I'm terminal. They can, you know, they can do chemo, they can do everything else, but ultimately I'll wind up dying from ovarian if it hits my ovaries.
So what do they do in the case?
And I said, okay. And he said, but are you willing to try it? And I said, well, I'll put it to you this way, I'm not willing to die. So,
You see my baby.
you
Have a
know,
baby.
yeah, if you've got an option, I'll take it. And he said, okay. And they are in these big old pills. They're about this big. I mean, literally, they're about this big. The pills that he gives me, and I take them for 1 week, and then I'm off of them for 3 weeks, and then I take them for another week, and then I'm off for 2, and then I take them for another week, and I'm off for a week, and then I take them another week, and I'm off for 3. So it's this cycle that I have to go through on these pills.
Do they make you feel bad?
Yes. They make me extremely sick. I don't want to eat. I don't want to. I don't want to do anything. But you know, you still got to work. And when I'm not working, I want to sleep, and that's not an option when you have a 6-year-old. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes it really tough. But because of those pills, a lot of my smaller tumors have passed. They, you know, and I'm like, well, what do you mean they're going to pass? And he said, well, it's going to be extremely painful when you pass them. I've passed quite a few of them. It's not working on the larger ones, per se. It's really not. he doesn't really know what to do at this point for the larger tumors. But, you know, he's not ready to give up, and that's the important thing to me. You know, every time that they come in and they say, oh, well, you know, this has happened, or that's happened, or it's causing this, or it's causing that. You know, I'm like, okay, well, what do we do about it? You know, I mean, there's not a point in crying over it. I know I have cancer. I mean, it's not a big surprise, you know. Yes, I will. But right now, BA is still saying, well, you need to have another child, and if you have another child, then, you know, everything's okay. Which is actually kind of ironic, because I wasn't even supposed to be able to get pregnant with Eden, and then I did, and then I had the car accident, and then she and I both made it through the car accident, but the whole time that I was pregnant with Eden, yeah, right now they're still hollering up and down, you know, oh, you need to have another child, and I'm like, you know, honestly, I do, but not until I can afford to take care of it. I don't want to get put considering, exactly, is just a stupid move. Oh yeah. In a big way. You know, but
ladies out there having pregnancies so they can be on real.
Well, and that's my whole thing about it is, you know, here's the deal. Even if I was to, you know, subject myself to, you know, random methods for whatever it took, you know, who's to say that I wouldn't have that child and get hit by a bus? You know, there's no guarantees on life. I mean, I hate to break it to folks, everybody's dying. I'm just doing it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I'm winning the race. You know, it's not.
But if they give me a second, you'd be fine.
I'd be fine. Yep.
That's so funny, get up in that helmet.
They took Lopez out.
Huh?
They took Lopez out.
For the whole time or just for a certain amount?
No, just for a short period of time. But that's the reason why I started recording it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to put their helmets together.
Well, no, because last time something like that happened, they sat there and they only called it on us. And so I'm like, forget that. It was the other guy who was instigating it.